Hello, Doctor. Dr. Mala.
Iko sawa.
So you need to open a document
Yes.
and you share the screen like we did yesterday.
Can now open it.
Mm.
Hiyo kama iko hapo. Okay.
Yes.
I have opened it now. I want to start on lesson 5.
Okay.
Lesson 5.
Mm.
If you are getting me, our lesson, our topic is international and the national policies. Yes.
Doc, you can just maybe hold on for like 5 minutes. They join. I have just shared the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then you share the screen. Click on that button to share the screen.
Sharing the screen. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Nataka kushare the screen. Jana nilikuwa na share screen, walifinya wapi? Kuna mahali unafinya kushare the screen.
Kushare the screen.
You see up at the bottom where the camera is, where the mic is, we have a button that look like a screen. You click on it, then select share, then select entire screen.
Yes.
Have you seen just at the bottom of the screen where a person can mute and unmute? We have the third button. When you take the cursor there, looks like share screen. Have you seen it?
Full screen.
Yeah, share the entire screen.
Full screen.
Share screen.
Yes.
Share the entire screen.
We share the entire one.
Entire screen.
Yeah, hiyo hapo. See, you click here, hapo entire screen.
Then I share.
Yeah.
Yes. And now open the document.
Document.
Ndio hiyo.
Document bado.
Hapana. Yoto.
Yes.
Yeah. It's now okay. I'm seeing it.
Yeah. Okay.
So just give. Let us start at exactly 9.
Okay.
So students are joining.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for the delay.
Yes.
But we start at exactly 9.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Bwana Wekesa, for your perseverance.
Welcome.
Amenisaidia Ruthi. Nitaelewa tu, hii ujinga yangu itatoka.
Na kabla hii Papa Roma amefanyiwa hiyo kitu. Kwa hiyo ilikuwa saa 9 hapo. Alitokanga hapa nikwambia amenipenda koti yake nijipime. Hakukuja hapa. Basi hakukuja huko. Kuja baadaye akatoka amenipita hapo kwangu saa 12. Wanasimamia expo ilikuwa inaendelea. Alikuwa committee member. Hakukuja huko lakini walikuwa na gari imejaa. Mara ya kwanza kuona gari yake imejaa.
Okay, it is now 9. Hello?
yes. Look, we can now pick. We can start now.
Okay, thank you. Today I want to begin on lesson 5. Our topic is international and national policies. International and national policies and legal legislations on inclusive education. Let's define the terminology policy. Policy is a statement of commitment or official guidelines given by the government to undertake specific programs. I repeat, a policy is a statement of commitment or official guidelines given by the government to undertake specific programs directed at achieving some goals. It gives notice to the citizens that new, revised, or accelerated program action on a particular issue are intended within a given time frame. Countries have succeeded in inclusive education, such as Britain, because they had concrete and clear policies to guide the implementation of inclusive education. Okay, international policies on inclusive education include the following. 1, Declaration of Human Rights, which was in 1948. Declaration of Human Rights is one of international policies, which was in 1948. In this year, 1948, it was after the Second World War. You know, after the Second World War, people had suffered, especially children and women. So they came up with the international policy of human rights. What did it say? It advocated the rights to human beings, including the right to education and a full participation for all people in the society. It recommended free and compulsory education at elementary level. I think elementary level can also be referred to as primary level, primary school level. That was in 1948. Another international policy was in 1989. This was Convention on the Rights of the Child. 1989, Convention on the Rights of the Child. It emphasized the following 4 basic rights of the child. It emphasized the following 4 basic rights of a child. The first one is education, followed by medical, food and protection. Education, medical, food and protection. On education, it recommended that the child with special needs education, SNE, should receive education and related services. You know, that was in 1989, where they were saying a child with special needs education should receive education and related services. That was a declaration. The next one was education should make the child achieve. Education should make the child achieve fullest possible social integration. and individual development. It says in the second point that education should make the child achieve fullest possible social integration and individual development. Another one was in 1990. This was a World Conference on Education for All. World Conference on Education for All, EFA in brackets, which took place in a place called Chom Thiem in Thailand. Chom Thien in Thailand. The policy had two main goals. One, taking all the children to school. Of course, when I say all children to school, I mean those with the special needs and the disabilities and the regular ones, say the ones who are normal. Access to quality education by all children. That is what the policy stated. And then in 1994, we had another international policy. Another international policy. This was the Salamanca Statement. Salamanca Statement made at the World Conference on Special Needs Education in Spain. This one was in Spain, and Spain is a country in Europe. Now, Salamanca Statement focused on access, quality education, and equity. It focused on access, quality education, and equity. It emphasized that education be provided to children with special needs through inclusive approach. It emphasized that education be provided to children with SNE through inclusive education approach. Another statement was removal of barriers in schools. Removal of barriers in schools so that all children can learn together. Remove all barriers in schools so that all children can learn together. When we say children can learn together, it means inclusive education. And what are the barriers? The barriers may be having no ramps in buildings which have stairs, having squeezed classrooms, maybe lack of enough light in the classroom, having toilets which are not suitable for learners with disabilities can be called barriers. Even negative attitudes by regular students and regular teachers can be barriers to learners with disabilities. Okay, this paved way for Kenya that set benchmarks that the universal primary education should be achieved by 2005. That universal primary education should be achieved by 2005, while EFA, education for all, should be achieved by 2015. We are already past 2005, and those who are born, I know most of you are not. In 2003, the late President Kibabii declared free primary education. I don't know if it is properly implemented now, but EFA, Education for All, was to be achieved in 2015, but we are now in 2025 after 10 years. I don't know if it has been achieved. I don't think. Yeah, and then standard rules on equalization of opportunities for persons with special needs. Standard rules on equalization of opportunities. You know, when we talk of opportunities of education, opportunities of employment, opportunities of being listened to in the community or in the society. So standard rules on equalization of opportunities for persons with special needs include those with disabilities, provision of services, the design and the structure of the environment, the attitude of general population, so that we don't have negative attitude towards those ones with the disabilities. These rules were to ensure that the persons with the disabilities exercise some rights and obligations like any other person. Rule number 6 focus on principle of equality. I think the word principle should be PRINCIPLE. I think we have to correct it. Principle of equality in the created setting, in the creation, where there is that interaction during education, during any other activity in the school, provision of support systems, adequate accessibility, parents' participation in the affairs of persons with disabilities or learners with special needs and disabilities, getting attention to all persons with disabilities. It is recommended that schools should have a clearly stated policy understood and accepted by the school and the community. The curriculum should also be flexible. Understand the curriculum are those subjects that are taught in school. Subjects taught in school come from a curriculum, so they should be flexible and accommodate learners with disabilities. Provide quality materials and teacher training. Training may be, as they train regular teachers, they also train in special needs education. The same way you are now learning this course, inclusive education, and your teachers who are training as regular teachers. Standard rules on equalization of opportunities for persons with special needs include a provision of services design. I think this was a repetition. And then, yeah, repetition. And then another international policy was DACA, Framework for Action in the year 2000. DACA, Framework for Action in the year 2000. DACA is a country in Senegal. Senegal is found in Africa and specifically in West Africa. So this was framework for action of the policies they had passed. And then it was held in Dakar, Senegal. And the purpose for this conference was to turn education for all into reality, to turn education for all into reality. And the policy of Dakar had the vision which stated that every child and adult to command literacy and numerous skills needed to function as a citizen. Every child and adult to command literacy and numerous skills needed to function as a citizen. Its main objective was to access progress of education for all goal, and then analyze where and why the goals had not been implemented, because the goal was to be implemented by 2015, and a renewed collective commitment to turn EFA vision into reality. Now, we have been looking at international policies on inclusive education. Let's now look at the national policy, or policies on inclusive education. National policies on inclusive education. National means in our country now. Let's look at, and all of you know our country is Kenya. In Kenyan policies that govern special needs education have been adopted from presidential directives, cabinet papers, education commissions, and legal notices from the Ministry of Education. Many commissions after independence, and I want to remind you that we got independence in 1963, and Kenya became a republic in 1964, gave some directions touching on special needs education, which are as follows. Number one, there was a committee on care and rehabilitation of the disabled. Number one, there was a committee on care and rehabilitation of the disabled. When we say disabled, are people with disabilities. We don't nowadays use the terminology disabled, but we use the concept persons with disabilities. And this committee on care and rehabilitation of disabled was in 1964. This committee was known as Ngala Mwendwa Committee. Ngala Mwendwa Committee. Maybe Ngala was a permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education. It had the following recommendations. It had the following recommendations. One, assess the number and the type of disabled persons in Kenya. Assess the number and the type of disabled persons in Kenya. After the 2010 constitution, we don't say disabled persons in Kenya. Instead, it could have been assess the number and type of persons with disabilities in Kenya. Type of persons with disabilities in Kenya. We have to change with the time. Number two, find out existing facilities for education training, settlement, and employment of the persons with disabilities, and here they have said disabled. Find out existing facilities for education, training, settlement, and employment of disabled or persons with disabilities. When we talk of facilities, we have physical facilities or physical infrastructure, especially in schools. When you talk of buildings that exist, classrooms, resource rooms, and so on. Number 3, formulate wide program for training. Formulate a wide program for training and placement or replacing the disabled or persons with a disability under community care, and then examine and report on the existing machinery for coordinating services of persons with disabilities. This was the first national policy on inclusive education, which is very important, and it was called Ngala Mwendwa Committee. This work resulted in a session after that committee of Ngala Mwendwa. There was this work, it resulted in a session paper number 5 of 1968. Session paper number 5 of 1968, which formed the framework for government policies on persons with disabilities. This session paper is the one which changed from calling people disabled to calling them persons with disabilities. The second national policy was Kenya Education Commission, 1964, also same year. Kenya Education Commission, 1964, which is popularly known by the name Ominde Report. Ominde Report. I think Ominde was by that time permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education when Kenya had just achieved independence. Now, this Ominde Commission or report recommended the following: learners with disabilities to continue learning in regular schools. Learners with disabilities to continue learning in regular schools. Then, number 2, teachers to be given skills. Teachers to be given skills which should enable them teach such children in regular schools. Teachers to be given skills which will enable them teach children in regular schools, and teacher training colleges to acquire trainees. Teacher training colleges to acquire trainees on techniques of teaching children with special needs. And that is why the government of Kenya started establishing colleges that train special teachers. And eventually they established Kenya Institute of Special Education in Nairobi. Number 3, another national policy, the National Committee on Education Objectives and Policies of 1976. National Committee on Educational Policies, the National Committee on Educational Objectives and Policies, 1976, which was called Kibabii report. Kibabii report. It recommended the following: early identification and assessment of children with special needs education. Early identification and assessment of children with special needs education. Number 2, creation of awareness of the public on the causes. Creation of awareness of the public on the causes of disabilities, with the view of facilitating prevention. With the view of facilitating prevention. Number 3, collection of existing data to establish the extent and the nature of handicaps and the need of provision of special education. Collection of existing data to establish the extent and the nature of handicaps and the need of provision of special education. Number 4, establish pre-primary schools within special schools for early educational intervention. Establish pre-primary schools within special schools for early educational intervention. And the last one, number 5, every child with a disability to get basic literacy equipment. Every child with a disability to get basic literacy equipment. That was the Kibabii report of 1976 as a national policy. The fourth policy was the Presidential Working Party on Education and manpower training for the next decade and beyond. The Presidential Working Party on Education and manpower training for the next decade. Decade refers to 10 years. The Presidential Working Party on Education and manpower training for the next decade and beyond, which took place in 1988, and it is called the Kamunge report. The Kamunge report of 1988. It recommended the following: 1, a national survey of data collection on various types of handicapped persons. A national survey of data collection on various types of handicapped persons. Number 2, appropriate curriculum be developed for children with various special needs. Appropriate curriculum be developed for children with various special needs. Number 3, special units be opened for those with multiple handicaps. Multiple means many. Special units be opened for those with multiple handicaps. Multiple handicaps means several disabilities, like a child can have visual impairment and deafness, or one can have mental retardation and a physical impairment, and even visual handicap. So that multiple means more than one. Number 4, educational assessment centers to be provided. Educational assessment centers be provided with the full-time qualified teachers to coordinate its services, with the full-time qualified teachers or to coordinate its activities. Number 5, it emphasized the need for integration of learners with special needs education in regular schools. It emphasized the need for integration of learners with special needs in regular schools. Now, number 6, examinations for learners with visual impairment to be provided. Exams for learners with visual impairments to be provided. Inspectors of special needs to be deployed at the district level. At the time, we had districts, but nowadays we call them counties. They have been enlarged. They are called counties. Several districts form a county in the current political administration. Okay, provide barrier-free environment for the physically handicapped. Provide barrier-free environment for the physically handicapped. That was the policy, presidential working policy of 1988, which is called the Kamunge Report. Policy number 5 is total integrated quality education and training of 1999. This is called totally integrated quality education. Totally integrated quality education and training, 1999. It is also called the Koichi Report of 1999. The report had this opening statement. The report had this opening statement. There is nothing more equal than the equal treatment of unequal. This statement is very important. The statement says there is nothing more unequal. There is nothing more unequal than the equal treatment of unequal. So they are referring to those with disabilities and those without disabilities and how they are treated. This statement in itself is a pro-inclusive education, which means it supported inclusive education. It had the following recommendations. KIE, Kenya Institute of Education. Nowadays it is called Kenya. The name has changed to Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. It used to be called Kenya Institute of Education, but currently it is called Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, KICD, but it used to be called KIE, to develop and standardize assessment tools for proper identification for early intervention. Number 2, KISE to expand and offer certificates, diplomas, and degrees. KISE to expand and offer certificates, diplomas, and degrees. KISE in full is Kenya Institute of Special Education. Kenya Institute of Special Education. They said that it was to expand and offer certificates, diplomas, and degrees. It is situated in Nairobi, Kasarani area. But when we now analyze, KISE offers certificates and diplomas, but it has not expanded to offer degrees up to now. So that report of 1999 is still pending because degrees are not offered at KISE. And then another one on that report of COEG, the government to increase budgetary allocation to special needs education. The government to increase budgetary from the what? Budget. That is budget, which means allocation of funds in special needs education. And number 4, the government to abolish cost sharing for persons with disabilities and offer free and equal education. The government to abolish cost sharing for persons with disabilities. The government to abolish cost sharing for persons with disabilities and offer free and quality education. Number 5, no head teacher should refuse to register any qualified child for national examination. No head teacher to refuse to register any qualified child for national examination. You know, this statement came because some head teachers were refusing children who cannot perform well, especially those ones who are mentally retarded, because head teachers were talking of mini scores and so on. Number 6, exam papers for handicapped be adapted to suit the individual needs of every child. Exam papers for handicapped be adapted to suit the individual needs of every child. For example, children who are visually impaired should have their exam papers with large print from Braille. So that is adapting. Instead of using the normal print, they have a Braille. They put the print in Braille. Policy number 6, the Children's Act of 2001. Children's Act of 2001. The Act embraces the principle of best interests. The Act embraces the principle of best interests, which states that all decisions affecting a child will be made in the best interest of the child. I repeat, the Act. The Act embraces the principle of the best interests, which states that all decisions affecting a child will be made in the best interest of the child. And the recommendations included: 1, promote well-being of children by assisting individual families. Promote well-being of children by assisting individual families and the communities to overcome social problems with which they are confronted. Promote well-being of children by assisting individual families and the communities to overcome social problems with which they are confronted. Number 2, implement provision of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child in 1989, which we have discussed. Implementation of the provision of UN. UN stands for United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child of 1989, which includes bringing up a child in his or her natural community or environment. Number 3, revoke practices that intend to label. Revoke practices that intend to label the child. Labeling like you are stupid, you are an idiot, such are labels. To label the child and exclude him or her from his or her natural community. His or her natural community, and then re-examine special education structure, and restructure it so that the child as a first option, in a neighboring school. So the child who has disabilities or special needs should go to the nearest school, a neighboring school, should not be discriminated or be taken away from his or her environment. The next one under Children's Act was every child should access quality education. Every child should access quality education and services similar to their peers. Peers are their age mates. Every child should access quality education and services similar to their colleagues or age mates or peers. And then the last one is those with the disabilities graduating from school should be given equal opportunities of employment without discrimination. Those with the disabilities graduating from school, they can graduate from school or vocational or even college, should be given equal opportunities of employment without discrimination. That was a Children's Act. We are looking at national policies in our country. We move to the next one, the Person with Disability Bill, 2003. Persons with Disabilities Bill. The Persons with Disabilities Bill, 2003. This emphasizes the rights of persons with disabilities. Emphasized the rights of persons with disabilities. Sometimes they are called PWDs. Emphasize the rights of persons with disabilities so that they are included in every agenda. They are included in every agenda, and it is recommended. Persons with disabilities recommended equal opportunities, quality education, full participation in education, accessing community and social services, preventing discrimination, providing necessary support. And then we had a session of paper number 1 of 2005. Session of paper number 5. No, session of paper number 1. Session of paper number 1 of 2005. This paper recommended that systems be put in place. Systems be put in place for the implementation of inclusive education. Systems to be put in place for the implementation of inclusive education. This resulted in the development of Kenya Sector Support Program. This resulted in the development of Kenya Sector Support Program, which is KESSP 2005, which aimed at providing quality lifelong education and training for Kenyans. And then we had special needs education policy of 2009. Special needs education policy of 2009, which stated the following: that the government shall take up the full responsibility of educating children, students with special needs and disabilities at all levels. I don't know if this one is implemented. The government shall take up the full responsibility of educating children or students with special needs and disabilities at all levels. Number 2, Minister of Education, MOE, Minister of Education, MOE, shall ensure proper use and maintenance of the existing physical structure and facilities for learners with special needs and disabilities. Number 3, the policy also aimed at enhancing effective communication and learning for emphasized effective communication and learning for learners with special needs and disabilities in all learning institutions. Number 4, Minister of Education shall ensure interests of learners with special needs. MOE, Minister of Education, shall ensure interests of learners with special needs are addressed in the guidance and the counseling programs. Addressed in the guidance and the counseling programs in all learning institutions. The next one, number 5, ensure affirmative action. Affirmative action in the provision of bursaries, loans, and scholarships to learners with special needs and disabilities for further studies. Ensure affirmative action in the provision of bursaries, loans, and scholarships to learners with special needs and disabilities to further their studies. And the last one, allocate equal funds for teaching and learning materials for learners with special needs and disabilities. So that was international and the national policies which are in this document. As you interact with the document, as you read, those are our policies. Now we move to the topic, categories, characteristics, instances, and the prevalence of learners with special needs. We are looking at categories, characteristics, instances, and the prevalence of learners with special needs. We ask ourselves, who are learners with special needs? Who are learners with special needs? That is the question. Who are learners with special needs? So learners with special needs are listed below. We have hearing impairment. We have a group of 12 groups of learners with special needs. And I want you to be very careful and listen to the categories of learners with special needs. 1, hearing impairment. Number 2, visual impairment. Number 3, deaf-blindness. Deaf-blindness. Number 4, mental disabilities. Number 5, specific learning difficulties. Number 6, autism. Number 7, communication difficulties. Number 8, emotional and behavioral difficulties. Number 9, physical health and multiple difficulties. Number 10, cerebral palsy. Cerebrum is part of the brain, so that is where the name originates from. Number 11, children who are gifted and talented. Number 12, which is the last one, living under especially difficult circumstances. And then they summarize another group, which is sensory impairments. When we say sensory impairments, it will include hearing impairment, visual impairments, and so on. Cognitive differences, we shall talk of the gifted and talented, the mentally disabled, or those ones with mental disabilities, and also with specific learning difficulties. Communication difficulties, we have emotional and behavioral difficulties, we have physical and multiple difficulties, and those living under especially difficult circumstances. When we talk of learners with sensory impairments, there are 3 groups: hearing impairment, visual impairment, and deaf-blindness. Those ones are under sensory impairments. Now, when we come to hearing impairments, learners with hearing impairments, and this one we shall cover very fast because we are simply identifying them. Hearing is an inability to hear well. or not hearing at all. Hearing impairment is an inability to hear well, or not hearing at all, not hearing at all, not hearing at all. Hearing loss can be classified according to severity. Severity, hearing loss can be classified according to severity. When it is very severe that the person cannot hear, so that person becomes maybe deaf. Age at onset. At what age does the child acquire hearing impairment? There are children who are born with it, and there are children who acquire it after they are born. So when a child is born with a condition of hearing, it simply means acquired the condition before he was born, and he will never acquire any language. But a child who acquires hearing impairment after the age of 3 will have already acquired the language, so will be talking, but the problem will be hearing. Okay, part of the ear affected. We can also classify them according to the part of the ear affected. We have 3 parts of the ear. We have the outer ear, the middle ear, and the inner ear. And then in hearing impairment, we also have classification according to severity of hearing loss. Classification according to the severity of the hearing loss, where we say some learners may only have slight hearing loss. Some learners may only have slight hearing loss, while others may have severe hearing loss. These are 5 major categories of hearing loss, and they include slight hearing loss, mild hearing loss, moderate hearing loss, severe hearing loss, and the worst is profound hearing loss. And they have explained or described learners with slight hearing loss, where they say these learners can follow normal conversation if there is no noise in the room. And we need to sit at the front and face the speaker or the teacher. They may also have difficulty learning faint or distant speech. They will also usually have difficulty in regular school situations. Let's come to mild hearing loss. Mild hearing loss may understand a conversation only at a distance of about 1 meter. Understand conversation at a distance of about 1 meter. Such learners will only be able to follow the conversation if the room is very quiet. I think that one is common sense. They may miss as much as 150% of class discussions if voices are feigned. If voices are feigned. Okay, the next one, learners with moderate hearing loss. Moderate hearing loss. These learners may have difficulties hearing in all situations, can only follow loud conversation, are deficient in language use and comprehension, are likely to have defective speech, have limited vocabulary, need the use of hearing aid, in some cases, or speech training. Those are learners with moderate hearing loss. Now we move to learners with severe hearing loss. These learners may hear loud voices about 30 centimeters. Hear loud voices about 30 centimeters from the ear. 30 centimeters, very close to the ear. They may be able to identify environment sounds, discriminate vowels, but not all consonants. They need individual hearing aids and instruction to total communication. Total communication is where you use several communication channels, like writing, signing, gesturing, and so on. And then the last group is learners with a profound hearing loss. These learners may hear some loud sounds, but are aware of vibrations more than tonal. Tonal is when they speak. The learners rely on vision rather than hearing as a primary avenue of communication. They need hearing aid and sign language. Sign language. They need hearing aids and sign language. Okay, and then classification according to age. At the onset, classification according to age at the onset. There are two types of hearing impairments as classified according to the age. There are two types of hearing impairments as classified according to age at onset. These are prelingual deafness, prelingual deafness, which refers to deafness present at the birth. At the birth, which means when a child is born, the child will be having deafness. It's called prelingual deafness. Or occur before the learners develop speech or language, or occur before the learners develop speech or language. That is called prelingual deafness. Prelingual deafness. Postlingual deafness. Postlingual deafness refers to deafness which occur after the learners have developed speech or language. Occur after the learners have developed speech or language, mainly after the age of 3 years. I mentioned that, mainly after the age of 3 years. Who are then learners with hear impairment? These are learners who have difficulties with their sense of hearing. They hear at a level below that of a person considered to have normal hearing. As noted before, functionally, there are two main types. There are two main types of learners with hearing impairment. There are two main types of learners with hearing impairment. These are learners who are hard of hearing and then deaf. Hard of hearing and then deaf. Learners who are hard of hearing, these are learners who, despite the hearing loss, have enough useful hearing left. These are learners who, despite the hearing loss, have enough useful hearing, residual hearing in brackets, residual hearing in brackets. This hearing ability can enable them to hear speech and acquire spoken language with or without the use of hearing aids. With or without the use of hearing aids. However, for them to hear speech well, the sound volume must be raised. The sound volume, when one is talking to such a person, the sound volume has to be raised. This can be done by speaking a bit louder than normal to them, placing them near the front of the class or near the speaker, ensuring their surroundings are quiet. Make sure that they look at the teacher's face or speaker's face, wearing suitable hearing aids. When we say suitable hearing aids, the one which cannot even worsen the situation. Who are learners that are referred to as deaf? Who are deaf learners? Learners who are deaf are those whose hearing loss is so severe, that they cannot hear and understand speech, even if the sound is made louder for them. This statement is very important. Learners who are deaf are those whose hearing loss is so severe and they cannot hear and understand speech even if the sound is made louder for them. Hearing aids may not assist them to be aware of some environment sounds, such as hearing aids may only assist them to be aware of sound of some environmental sounds. Hearing aids may only assist them to be aware of some environmental sounds, such as sounds made by moving vehicles and booming sounds. Functionally, learners with slight to moderate hearing loss are referred to as hard of hearing, while those with severe and profound loss are referred to as deaf. So when there is slight and moderate hearing loss, they are hard of hearing. When they are severe and profound loss, they are deaf. Classification according to the part of the ear. Now, we talked of classification according to the part of the ear. Classification here, you will find that there are three main types of hearing loss according to the part of the ear affected. These are the three main types are conductive hearing loss, sensory neural hearing loss, and a mixed hearing loss. Let's look at conductive. It is conductive hearing loss, sensory neural hearing loss, and a mixed hearing loss. We look at conductive hearing loss. Let's focus on conductive hearing loss. This is where the damage or infection is either in the outer or middle parts of the ear. I repeat this one. This is where the damage or infections is either in the outer or middle part of the ear. This results in mild and moderate hearing loss. Those with this type of hearing loss have residual hearing left and can hear and understand spoken language with the help of hearing aids. With the help of hearing aids. Sensory neuro hearing loss. Sensory neuro hearing loss. This is when the damage is in the inner ear. This is when the damage is in the inner ear. This results in severe and profound hearing loss. This results in severe and profound hearing loss with a little residual hearing left. Children with this type of hearing impairment usually do not acquire and use spoken language. Children with this type of hearing impairment usually do not acquire and use spoken language. They can, however, use hearing aids to be aware of environmental sounds. And then mixed hearing loss. This refers to a combination of conductive and sensorineural hearing losses. This means both the middle ear and the inner ear are affected at the same time. Middle ear and inner ear are affected at the same time. Generally, conductive hearing impairment is less severe in its effect than the sensorineural. It is associated with the range of speech, language, learning difficulties in childhood. Characteristics of the hearing impairment. We want now to look at the characteristics of the hearing impaired children. Learners who are deaf. We begin learners who are deaf. What are their characteristics? One, they don't acquire spoken language normally. Two, have speech flow difficulties. The flow of their speech is difficult. Speech lacks a normal rhythm, stress, and intonation. Number three, have too high or too low pitched voices. Have too high or too low speech voices since they cannot hear themselves to adjust their voices. Characteristic number four, have limited social relationships. Have limited social relationships because of communication difficulties, which may in turn make them to develop feelings of isolation and rejection. Have limited social relationships because of communication difficulties, which may in turn make them to develop feelings of isolation and rejection. Number 5, have frequent substitutions, distortion, and omissions of sounds of speech. Are frequent substitutions, distortions, and omissions of sounds of speech. For example, the learners may say, "ooh, oot," instead of "oot," instead of "good night," "una," instead of "good night." Okay, another characteristic is confuse certain consonants like P, B, T, D. Confuse certain consonants like P for B, T for D. Slow and leopard speech, they produce slow and leopard speech. They mainly use gestures or signs to make themselves understood. Those are 8 characteristics of the deaf. What about learners with hard of hearing? Hard of hearing have the following characteristics. Ask for repetition of what has been said. And if you are among the students that you ask for repetition all the time, then you are hard of hearing, may have frequent ear infections. Number 3, have difficulties in group discussions, especially in a noisy environment. Number 4, have difficulties in hearing and high frequent speech sounds such as s, sh, t, sh, sh, t. Such as sounds am, k, ch, ch. I don't know if you are getting me. Have difficulties in hearing and high frequent speech sounds such as what we have said. You can look at them, practice them, those sounds, speech sounds. Those who take English know those sounds. And then number 5, misunderstand others since they cannot comprehend all that is said to them. Misunderstand others since they cannot comprehend all that is said to them. 6, are unable to monitor their voices and hence speak loudly or softly. Are unable to monitor their voices and hence speak loudly or softly. I think you have experienced that. You see them speaking loudly or softly because they cannot monitor their voices. Have difficulty in understanding direction. Have difficulty in understanding directions. Avoid participating in oral activities. Avoid in participating in oral activities. Cup the ears in the direction of sound. To cup the ears is to hold with the hand the ear towards the speaker. Cup the ears in the direction of sounds. A frequent loss, substitute, and omission of consonant sounds. Stare at speaker's face. Staring. Staring is just looking at that person for long. Stare at speaker's face, aiming to lip read, aiming to read the lips of the person who is speaking. Appear confused or not responding to instructions. Have poor vocabulary in relation to their age and their achievements and their social backgrounds. May withdraw from the group of learners, especially if they are humiliated What are the educational implications of learners with hearing impairment? Educational implications. The educational implications may be faced by learners include inability to hear well in a classroom with a noisy surrounding, inability to hear well in a classroom with a noisy surrounding. Number two, poor verbal communication skills between the child and the teacher and the peers. Lack of acceptance and a social isolation because of lack of communication. Ineffective communication between the child and the family. Ineffective communication between the child and the family, especially the parents and the siblings. Especially the parents and the siblings. This may limit the child's opportunities to acquire knowledge and skills, usually acquired through interaction with parents, siblings, and the community. Next, inability to follow school routine. Inability to follow school routine since he or she may not hear the bell. Inability to follow school routine since he or she may not hear the bell. Those are educational implications. How do we intervene? Intervention strategies for learners with hearing impairment. Educational intervention, especially, we are saying interventions for learners with hearing impairments. Interventions. How do we intervene and help these learners? Advising on suitable school placement. They go to a school that will help such children. Advising parents to seek medical help. Utilizing peers. Peers are colleagues or age mates to assist a learner with class routines such as sharing notes. Providing the child with all details. Provide the child with all details of the lesson in a written form. Providing the child with all details of the lesson in a written form. The child's academic performance can be improved with the proper classroom management and use of technical and teaching aids. Teaching a concrete the child preference sitting in the classroom, especially they sit in front of the class. This allows him or her to sit near the teacher where there is good source of light. Sit near the teacher where there is good source of light. Facing the child when talking, the teacher should face the child when talking. Talk slowly, clearly, and in a good tone without mouthing words. Without mouthing words, which means mouthing words means the words are not coming outside the mouth of the teacher. Counseling the school community to accept the child, referring the learner to health center for medical checkups and treatment, encouraging the learner to observe general basic ear hygiene. The ear should be clean. They should not use sticks or objects to put in their ears and so on. Learners who are deaf. Majority of learners who are deaf may need special needs education, where majority of learners who are deaf may need special needs education, where total communication philosophy is a main communication strategy. In addition, communication can also assist child who is deaf as follows: advising on school placement, encouraging the child to observe general eye hygiene, encouraging the family and the community to learn the communication techniques used by the child for effective communication in the community and at home and the community. Instance and the prevalence of learners with hearing impairments. What is instance? What is instance? Instance, in this case, refers to the number of new cases of learners with special needs and disabilities identified in a given period of time, usually a year. And what is prevalence? What is prevalence? This is in this case, this one refers to total number of existing cases, not new and old, existing cases of learners with special needs and disabilities in a population at a given time. Prevalence is usually described as a number per 1,000. Prevalence is usually described as a number per 1,000. Instance of hearing aid, according to the World Health Organization, which is simply WHO, is approximately 10% of the population has disabilities. 10% of the population has disabilities. Further, it is estimated at least 5% of the learners in the regular schools have some special educational needs. Of these, 1 in every 1,000 learners have hearing impairment. It is estimated that Kenya has about 300,000 cases of persons with the hearing impairments. That is estimation. There is a need for research to prove the estimation. Learners with visual impairments. Learners with visual impairments. These are learners with difficulty in the structure and or functioning of the eyes. Functioning of the eyes. These are learners with the difficulties in the structure and the functioning of the eyes. Visual difficulties range from slight visual impairment to total blindness. From slight visual impairments to total blindness. Below, maybe one will need to look at the diagram of the eye. Those who take biology should bring the structure of the eye, the diagram of the eye. You can draw, know all those parts, please. Or you can get from anywhere the diagram of the eye, the diagram of the structure of the eye. It's very important. And also the ear. If you can get a chance, get the structure or the diagram of the ear, know the inner ear, the middle ear, and the outer ear. Learners with visual impairments can be classified into two main groups. Two main groups. These are the learners who are blind and the learners with low vision. Learners who are blind and learners with low vision. Learners who are blind, these are learners who have totally lost their sense of vision. Blind learners are the ones who have totally lost their sense of vision and are unable to tell the difference between darkness and light. And that one is very important when we are talking of the blind. The blind have totally lost their sense of vision and are unable to differentiate between darkness and light. Learners with low vision, have a significant visual handicap, but they also have significant vision that can be used. That is according to WHO, that is World Health Organization. They have a significant visual handicap, but also have significant vision that can be used. Educators give an educational definition and say that educators give an educational definition and say that any pot with a low vision is usually impaired, but may increase visual functioning through the use of optical aids, non-optical aids, environmental modification, and all low vision techniques. Generally, most learners with low vision can use their vision for many school learning activities under varying conditions, depending on the amount of light, contrast, and individual differences, such as learners can be trained to see and become visual learners. According to research, it is estimated that 80% of all conditions that cause visual impairment in Kenya are preventable. I want to repeat this one. According to research, it is estimated that about 80% of all conditions that cause visual impairment in Kenya can be prevented or are preventable. Let's move to characteristics of visual impairments. Visual impairments, their characteristics are here. There are many. Let me go through them because you will read them at the opportune time. Complain of not seeing well, have difficulties reading and copying from the chalkboard, read and write with their heads tilted to one side. Read and write with their heads tilted to one side. Read books held very close to or very far from the eyes. They either hold books very close or very far from their eyes. I think you have ever seen them. Complain about too much or too little light in the classroom. Complain about too much or too little light in the classroom. Regularly make quick eye movement from side to side. Regularly make quick eye movement from side to side. Regularly make quick eye movement from side to side, especially the albinos. You will find their eyes, when you look at their eyes, they make quick eye movements from side to side. Next, they trip over objects on the ground, which you will expect them to see. Have difficulties in grasping objects that are directly in front of them. They also complain of double vision, have watery or reddish and painful eyes. They have watery or reddish and painful eyes. Omit some letters while reading or writing. Omit some letters while reading or writing. Use the index fingers to point at what they are reading. Use the index fingers to point at what they are reading. Have eyes that do not fixate involuntary eye movements. Fixate. They are not fixate. Keep on moving. Withdraw from the rest of the learners. Withdraw from the rest of the learners. Are unable to watch something moving near the face. Are unable to watch something moving near the face. Have clumsy movements and a poor balance when walking. Have clumsy movements and a poor balance when walking. Have white patches in the center of their eyes, in the iris or iris. Have white patches in the center of their eyes, in the iris. Move their heads instead of their eyes while reading. Move their heads instead of the eyes while reading. And lastly, the characteristics of visual impairment. Write uneven letters. For example, very small or very big letters. Write uneven letters. For example, very small or big letters are sometimes not in straight lines and sometimes not in straight lines. What are some of the characteristics of learners who are deaf? Characteristics of the deaf include the following. When you observe them, poking of the eyes. Poking is a poke. Those eyes are not there, but they poke. They put their hands there. Poor posture, clumsy movements, rocking of the body forth and back when they keep moving their heads, frowning of physical grimaces in the face. They frown their grimaces that of the near the eyes, making repetitive, meaningless sounds. They make certain sounds which they keep on repeating. Turning of their heads rapidly from side to side. Turning of their heads rapidly from side to side. Clapping their hands at inappropriate times. Clapping their hands at inappropriate times. Education implication for learners with visual impairments. Learners who may have problems for coping with the teaching and learning. There are many of these learners, especially those with low vision in schools. The needs for these learners can be met through regular schools, but before we say so, we can cater for them. It is important to know the difficulties which the two groups of learners may face. What difficulties to learners with visual impairment face in learning? Some of the difficulties include reading and copying from the chalkboard, and therefore may lag behind others in academic activities. Reading books written in ordinary print, finding their way within the classroom and the school, identifying objects, posters, and other learning material within the classroom, learning concepts that have to be perceived through light, such as color and skin, may pose a problem to such learners. How can we help learners with visual impairments? The solutions to the difficulties by learners faced with visual impairment always depend on the age of the learner, severity of the visual problem, and the subject activities at hand. These are three levels of intervention. One, medical intervention, educational intervention, and psychological intervention. Let's look at the medical intervention. Most eye diseases and the defects can be prevented or treated. Learners should therefore be referred to hospitals that have eye units to undertake cataracts. We have what we call cataracts extraction, trachoma, and other eye treatment, provision of eye glasses to improve vision. Educational intervention for learners who can read an enlarged brain, have little or no problem in mobility, should simply use the following forms: moving the child near to the chalkboard, especially those who cannot use large brain, moving the child near to the chalkboard in the classroom, or in position which allow him or her to participate well in the activities, providing large print materials, advising parents to provide optical low vision devices or take the child to eye specialists for eye device, assisting, assigning sighted learners in the class to act as guides, assigning sighted learners in the class to act as guides, assigning sighted learners in the class to act as guides, and the teacher should ensure that the children who have visual impairment do not become too dependent on them, because they have also to practice walking on their own, doing things independently, treating them just in the same way as the teacher treats sighted learners or the community treats sighted learners. Sighted learners are those who see properly. Sighted learners or peers. Encourage them to participate in as many activities as possible. Encourage them to participate in as many school activities as possible. Activities will include physical education, sports, athletics, and so on. It will help them adjust and become self-esteemed. Arrange the classroom in such a way that there is enough light. There is enough light in the classroom. How can we assist learners who are who are blind in learning environment. For learners who are blind, they can be assisted by orientation and mobility training, training in typing, braille reading and writing, using the braille to read and write, training on activities of daily living. Activities of daily living include dressing themselves, they should be trained, patterning their clothes, combing their hair, brushing their teeth, taking bath, eating, table manners, all those ones are activities of daily living. Training on listening skills, provision of tactile, the ones that I can touch, provision of tactile or tactile diagrams, the ones they touch and feel, training on auditory stroke listening skills, sound seasoning. This is where they train them on auditory and listening skills. Instances and the prevalence of learners with visual impairments. Prevalence, there is no updated statistics on total population of learners. Total population of learners who have visual impairment in Kenya. However, the estimate is 1% of the total population of about the population of Kenya. Currently is 55 million or around there. In instance, according to research, this is estimated that 46% of all visual cases in Kenya are due to cataract. Cataract is a condition. Let me repeat. About 46% of all visual impairment cases in Kenya are due to cataract. And the cataract is a condition in which the lens inside the eye loses transparency and turns milky with M-I-L-K-Y, milky, cloudy. Cloudy is C-L-O-U-D-Y, or opaque. Let me repeat what cataract is. Cataract is a condition in which the lens inside the eye loses transparency and turns milky. Milky is M-I-L-K-Y. Or cloudy, which is C-L-O-U-D-Y, or opaque. Other minor causes of eye difficulties are glaucoma, and accidents. Learners who are deaf-blind. We have learners who are deaf at the same time they are blind. This is a condition where a person has impairments of both vision and hearing. Some may be totally blind while others may have useful vision. At the same time, they are deaf or hard of hearing. Who are learners with deaf-blindness? These are learners who may have visual and hearing impairment. We have said this makes it difficult for them to utilize the two senses of seeing and hearing properly. Some learners who are deaf-blind are totally deaf and blind, while others have residual hearing and residual vision. Learners with residual vision are able to move about in their environments, recognize familiar people, see sign language at close distances, and perhaps read large prints. Those with the residual hearing are able to recognize familiar sounds, understand some speech, or develop speech for communication. Let's look at characteristics as we come to wind up the lesson. Characteristics of learners who are deaf-blind. They have difficulties, of course, very difficulties because of these two conditions at the same time, deaf and blind. They look at you for help, respond to your smile, follow a moving object with the help. These are hearing impaired. They are both visual and hearing impaired. They are not completely deaf, maybe. Characteristics. Follow a moving object, walk and dress and eat and dress up. As objects in front and hand to the teacher. Look at pictures and read text. Turn their heads round. Respond when you call. Understand what the teacher says. Develop spoken language. Deaf blind, they have problems of poking their eyes, like kissing, rocking, banging their heads, and so on. Moving meaninglessly in the environment, lying on the ground, reluctant to move, playing with objects in a repeated, meaningless way, banging or flinging. They are frustrated, they have behavior problems, and so on. They have defensive behaviors, all that. Education intervention will include showing positive attitude, adapting the curriculum, encouraging the learners to use residual hearing and seeing, having personal contact with the learner, providing them with hearing aids if possible. If they cannot do well, let them provide eye classes, all that, training and stimulating the learner on activities for communication skills, visual stimulating skills, motor and self-care skills, social skills. Prevalence of learners who are deaf-blind in the country, they say there are limited official statistics available, but the percentage is 0.015%. That is 15 out of 100,000 people will have deaf-blindness. That is, the source is from East African Medical Journal. Okay, so these specific regular school policies should help them. They should, learners expected to be given full-time uniform. The parents should attend and help them at home, use communication channels that are proper. All learners might attend physical education, all that. Okay, so we have completed lesson 5. That lesson 5 is complete. Thank you for sharing. Please read the notes I've gone through. Next week, we are having graduation in my university, main campus, Kikuyu, in Kiambu County. So I will not have lessons, but I don't know, you will continue looking at lesson 6, learners with cognitive differences. Look at lesson 6, learners with cognitive differences. I don't know if I'll give you questions, learners with cognitive differences, those who are mental disability, gifted and talented learners, specific learning difficulties, and autism. Those are the 4 groups who are under cognitive differences. Please look at mentally disabled learners, mental disabilities. They are also called intellectually challenged. They are also called mentally retarded. Look at that. We have the gifted and the learners. Look at their differences. Look at their characteristics. Look at how they get part in a regular system. Look at specific learning difficulties like spelling, speech, handwriting, arithmetic, pronunciation, all that, and the autism and the characteristics of autism. I think, thank you for attending our lesson. Let's communicate on our wall and raise issues. If you could not understand, I think the notes will be provided for you to read through lesson 5. Lesson 5. For lesson 6, I've said learners with cognitive differences. May God bless you. Let's meet next time. But I've said next week we shall have no lesson, whether online or physical, because I've been involved in the graduation on the 5th December 2025. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you, Mr. McNoda Duekesa. Can you hear me? Hello? Huyu alienda mteja. Nimemaliza. Lakini nimefundisha wanafunzi. Si hawa ni wa university ingine. Pole kwa kusumbua.
Hapana, utasumbua. Alienda huyo ama amesikiza?
Amesikia. I had not stopped sharing. Sasa wanafunzi. Yeye pengine ameenda lakini wanafunzi. They will communicate. How much do I pay? Ama umenipa free bonus. Niambie tu ile ya kulipa. Si nimetumia haki. You have
Daktari, pole nilikuwa nimetoka kidogo. Umemaliza class?
Nimemaliza 11 nikatry kuuliza nimeshukuru bwana.
Oh, sawa, acha let me end it.
Yeah.
Sawa sawa.
Lakini jana ndiye alikuwa ananiuliza your objective was marked.
Yes, it was marked.
Oh, he was asking me that. Lakini nimekuwa lesson mzuri bwana. Hata bwana nimeshukuru sana.
Oh, karibu.
Nimemaliza lesson 5 yote.
Yes.
Alafu nimebaki lesson 6 sasa lesson 6